Blumineck. Apparently, I was talking to Tetra about this yesterday. He's like a crazy talented archer. I think archery is awesome, but I don't wear my glasses during it, and my aim is terrible because I can't calculate. So this is gonna be cool. It's gonna just show me that I'm not good at things. Yippee!
Set an arrow on fire. Fantasy settings love a flaming arrow.
Okay.
The classic image of an arrow wrapped in flammable material, lit and launched into the night, looks incredibly cool.
Yes.
The problem is that when you do that, the speed of the arrow tends to put the fire out.
The movies lied to us? They wouldn't just lie like that on the internet, right? They wouldn't do that. Huh? Okay. Our favorite elf pole dancing archer, hello?
But historical fire arrows were used, but it's fuel and oxidizer that kept them lit.
Huh.
And when done properly, they do not go out.
The advent of gunpowder brought new knowledge about how to make things really burn.
And combining that new chemistry with pre-existing technology produced something a bit like this.
They burn incredibly fiercely and they direct the fire forward against the target. And the small barbed head makes them really hard to get out.
Ooh.
Generally, these were more useful in sieges than open warfare, so images like this weren't all that common. But that said,
you definitely don't want to get hit by one.
okay, let's get something completely clear.
No one gonna ask about the stripper pole. Dude's an archer stripper. I'm not secretly a stripper. What? Did Penn send me this? No, Tetra did.
Not secretly a stripper. This is a form of...
So it's not a secret, he is. This is a form of pole dance. You know the amount of like grip and strength you have to have in your legs to hold on like that? And the core strength? Top corner, remove the mouse, maybe think of Penn. Sorry, I like, instead of like talking with my hands, I talk with the mouse.
pole dance. I didn't learn it by accident. And in order to be able to do stuff like this, you first need a pretty good grasp.
I was gonna
on
say.
things like this. So yes, I'm a pole dancer. I do shows, I've done competitions, I even teach. And every now and then, I'll crack out the old leg.
What are those heels? That's like, that's what? What? How, what?
Quivers and risk my ankles to pay homage to the strippers and sex workers who built this hobby into what it is and who taught me how to do it. But I don't work in a club, and I don't have to deal with the prejudice and marginalisation that the people who do face. So while I am a pole...
I mean, mad respect, though. Mad respect. He's like, yeah, you know, why he moved like that, though? He is... Like, imagine being so good at your craft that, like, you just take it up another notch. Like, I wish I was this good in anything that I ever did. I am literally not good at anything like that. This is, like... This is crazy. If you almost as tall as her cousin, those heels, it's like, it's gotta be like at least 5 inches of like heel. Like, that's huge. Mastering 2 crafts is one thing, combine them is another. It's actually insane. I'm not good like this level of good. This is insane.
Dancing archer. I don't use the word stripper because I haven't earned it. Boxing glove arrow?
Oh?
Blunt arrows used to knock out opponents are found in a variety of media, but would they actually work?
Would they?
It's starting to rain now, but I'm committed to this, so let's give it a go. I've got my standard human head substitute. Let's see what happens when I shoot some blunt arrows at it from a warbow.
Okay.
Number 1, boxing glove.
Oh. Too heavy.
The boxing glove was too heavy.
Yeah.
The arrow actually shattered. Okay,
Oh.
Arrow number 2, LARP arrow.
It's a LARP. Oh, okay.
Okay, that has legitimately cracked the melon. Let's try a slightly
Can't get a watermelon open? There you go.
harder arrow point.
Okay. Oh.
Yes, we did it, even on a honeydew. As always, like and follow if you
But did it crack open from the pressure, not from falling? I don't actually know. Is it actually good?
want to see more archery nonsense. Can you shoot a sword from a bow, whether their regular arrows aren't working or they've simply run out? Archers in fiction occasionally end up shooting things that are generally considered non-standard, but Arrows are designed for shooting from bows, and most random objects don't have that. With no knock on the end, there's nothing to hold it on the string. And if it's too short or too heavy, then you're gonna have some slight range issues. And a sword is even worse. A lot of swords...
Isn't it centered? Oh, 2 edges. Okay. LARP live action roleplay. So LARP is used by LARPers. No, but it was attached to a bow. Bow and arrow? Yeah. We're learning the things.
Blades have 2 edges, which is not a fun thought. And even if it's single-edged, there's usually a few things that would get in the way.
Yeah.
But if you use a draw style that holds it onto the string, you can shoot something that doesn't have a knock. And while a simple buffy stick tends to tumble in the air, if it's heavy enough, you've got a slightly better chance to do some damage. But even a heavyweight bow is designed for shooting things in the range of 100 grams. So for heavier objects, it might be more efficient to simply throw them.
Yeah.
But just because something's a bad idea doesn't mean it's not cool. And while swords might not always work, if you're willing to go dwarf style, you can shoot a melee weapon out of a bow.
Yeah, but like if you have like an axe like that, oh god, they're so fun to throw. Shovel propaganda is kind of terrifying, but shoot arrows while LARPing and don't actually defeat your enemies. That's sad.
Does the pole ever fall over? Often when I'm out here doing stuff like this, I get people concerned that the pole is about to fall over.
Yeah, it looks like it's wobbling.
And I get it. Because this thing wobbles around a lot.
Dang, okay. Dude's literally just flexing on us. LARPers use LARP arrows to shoot each other. There's soft foam on the inside instead of an arrowhead so you don't get hurt. Oh, okay. That still hurt the melon, though. I will defeat my enemies. Jay, when are you doing this? When are you going to shoot arrows on a pole like this? Yeah, Jay, can you do this move? Jay, please respond. Jay.
When I throw my weight around. But the fact of the matter is, it's actually really heavy. To the point where it's incredibly difficult to carry all the bits of it at once.
Oh, that's fair.
With these legs extended, the base is actually really wide compared with where I can get my center of gravity, which means that most of the time I can do some pretty bonkers stuff without worrying too much about the whole thing falling on me. But can it fall?
Yes.
Absolutely it can.
If you grab it from the top.
Somewhere where there's...
I was going to say. The second I become a geeked up Twinkie elf bowman. All right, Jay's starting his arc now. Let's go, gamer. I think the melon cracked because the shaft is still hard and it knocked the melon off so it hit the ground too. That's what I was wondering because it looked like he hit it, but I wasn't sure if it cracked because it fell on the ground or if it cracked because he hit it with the arrow. That would be an interesting D&D character, an archer that can only shoot when they conjure a pole. That would be kind of cool. The guy does calisthenics. I don't know what he does, but dang.
Not enough space to extend the legs.
Yeah.
Then I need to be a lot more careful about what I do. A lot of people have noticed that I don't really wear shoes, which has led some people to speculate that I might not even own any, which is of course ridiculous. Because it's all very well running around barefoot on grass, but real life is full of hazards, like uncomfortable gravel, thorns and brambles, and random bits of Lego. So there will...
I stepped on one of BB's toys this morning and I wanted to scream so loud, but I was so brave about it that I didn't. It was a stunt melon, trained to explode and be shot. Paid actor. Dang, and even the melon was paid?
There'll always be situations where it's simply not suitable to have the dogs fully out.
Fair.
Which is why
I didn't even think to look at his feet, but yeah.
own these, which not only maintain the D&D rogue vibe, but also help me keep my ankles warm when it's chilly. But while they've got excellent ground feel, they don't suit every occasion. So I also have these, which not only have a lot of soul, but...
Dude, those almost get so hot to wear when it's really warm. Just like pant. Okay, also the heel is insane. My dude.
They also allow me to quiver in my boots. But even these still have some situations that they're not suited for.
Like walking?
So in times like that, I wear these. They've got good ground feel, they're comfy, they keep the Blumineck vibe, and while they're not exactly big enough for arrows, they do have pockets. So if I'm ever out and about at events and I can't just go barefoot, then these are my go-to. But there is another set.
Don't do it.
More acrobatic than the trapeze boots. Higher.
Bruh. That's gotta be like a 10-inch heel. Like, come on. Heels are taller than Yura band. She got more pockets than women clothing. Crazy. They do. You can fit an arrow. You can't fit an arrow in a women's pocket.
than the stilettos and weirder than the elf shoes. But I assure you, none of you are ready for that conversation.
What? I was not expecting. Can you explain those a little more, my dude? Just okay. Can you block an arrow with a cape? Could you really stop an arrow?
You
Okay.
really stop an arrow with a cloak? The lads at Sellsword Arts tested this one recently, and they found that most of the time an arrow does get stopped, which surprised me. So let's look into it. Arrows are good at punching through stuff. Even a standard target point will go through a range of materials when they're being worn on the body. But when they're hanging loosely, those same materials can move with the blow and dissipate the energy, which is why a lot of ranges use hanging curtains as backstops behind the target. But if a bit of cloth is all it takes, why did medieval knights run around in heavy, expensive armour instead of just pulling a John Wick? Well, firstly, an arrow curtain is not guaranteed. And when you're dealing with bows that shoot at high speed, they can start to have problems. And you might think this is a matter of draw weight. Even a modern hunting weight bow pales in comparison to a lot of historical war weights. But even if you pile on the pounds, a blunt arrow can still get deflected.
Oh, so there's a chance.
Most of the time.
Okay, most of the time.
But in battle, people didn't use target points. They used broadheads or bodkins. And when one of these hits your cloak, the point quickly cuts through the material, allowing the rest to pass through.
So they just be cooked, but the shoe's deeper than a woman's purse. Yeah. A modern hunting broadhead will pass right through. Oh, that's what you're saying.
Very little friction.
Yeah.
Even if your bow isn't all that powerful. Now, there are definitely ways you could make a cloak that would stop an arrow. A regular cloak against an archer who's equipped for a fight isn't much different to a similarly administered placebo. Can you tell what's wrong with these bows?
Too fancy?
When people design fantasy bows, they want them to look cool.
Yeah.
And because we mainly view bows from the side, naturally they're going to focus on that profile. But if you're not careful, this results in a bow that is wide in this plane and narrow in this one. And if it's drawn or animated, then that's not too big a problem. But as some prop makers have found out to their peril, if you make something flat, it wants to bend this way and not that way. Which is why bows in real life tend to have limbs that are flat in this direction and narrow this way. And while there are some bows that have a cross section that is closer to round or square, they achieve that by either creating or using natural layers in the wood to have a dense, flat section on
I didn't even think about bow and arrows like this. This is crazy.
the side facing the archer, so it will still bend the way they want it to. But while the limbs of a bow always need to bend, many modern bows have a large section in the middle called a riser, which doesn't. And that bit can be embellished as much as you like. But if you really have to make a bow out of a sword, at least make sure it's turned the right way. How dangerous is a cast iron pan?
Now do with the cast iron. Cast iron's really tough. Okay.
While a lightweight steel pan can absolutely pack a punch, when fantasy characters take pans into battle, they're much more likely to use one of these. Cast iron is a lot heavier than an equivalent size steel pan, meaning they hit like a ton of bricks. Both up close and at a distance, which alongside the cooking applications made them a popular present for new brides. But could you really take one into battle? Unfortunately, the weight of this makes it slower and gives it less reach than an actual dedicated weapon. And while it can absolutely take a hit, iron is known to be a bit more brittle than its steel cousin, so it might not be as effective for defense. But when push comes to shove, and with an enemy charging you down, one of these is going to be a lot better than nothing. And even against a steel helmet.
I like how he just has all this stuff ready. We PUBG and iron is more fragile. I didn't think about that.
It'll ring the bells. Just don't expect it to hold up for too many swings. Axes are actually finesse weapons. In fantasy fiction, swords are light, fast weapons wielded by dexterous rogues, while axes are slow and ponderous and wielded with
I do obviously use an axe because ponderous and wielded with brute force alone, because I'm just that, you know, jacked out.
Brute force alone, which might just about work for chopping wood, but if you're going up against somebody else with a weapon, it's not gonna cut it. Historically, axes used in battle were a lot lighter than the ones we chop wood with. And while they're more front heavy than a sword, they needed to be used with precision. Both of these have an optimal range.
Don't you call me a chun? No, because I use an axe. Hello?
But outside of that range, the sword will still cut, while
Right.
the axe can get hooked on a weapon
Mhm.
and potentially taken out of my control. And while the sword's guard can
Oh.
protect my hand from incoming attacks, the axe doesn't have one. So my
Smash.
blocks either need to be more creative or more precise. Ultimately, any combat style requires more than just brute strength. But don't underestimate
But I unga bunga. That's all I got. That's all I can do.
the dexterity involved in wielding an axe. This is my new favourite historical archery image.
Oh.
Not just because it's a skeleton shooting a bow, which is cool as hell, but also because of how he's shooting the bow. Found in the crypt of a church in Prague, this image shows an archer with a recurved bow,
Prague? Let's go.
their weight forwards on one foot, and the bow partially drawn in a kind of stalking stance. But
Okay.
instead of using just one arrow, this
It's three.
particular skeletal archer is using 3, which means one of 2 things. The first one is that all the arrows are on the string, ready to shoot at a single target. But a
And
closer
mess
look
them
at the bow hand shows that only one of the arrows is actually on the thumb, which tends to have mixed results.
Huh.
So what might be being shown here is only one arrow on the string, allowing them to be shot one after the other at up to 3 different targets. And the stance for it is a really nice match for the pose in the picture. But whether we're looking at a speed shooter or a trick shooter, people have been drawing their fantasy OCs for hundreds of years. Using a musical instrument.
That's so cool. I've been to Prague. It's beautiful. I want to visit. I like the speed one, like in succession. That's very like game mechanic, I feel like.
To launch arrows is pretty silly, but you might
Yeah.
be able to play music with a bow. Unfortunately, despite the insistence of various game designers and artists, you can't just turn one into a harp. And even if you
Sad.
did manage to slap a bunch of extra strings on a bow, you're going to have a problem as soon as they go slack on your first shot. Possibly with the right string material, you might be able to use a bow to play a violin.
Oh.
But there's a pretty big difference between this and this. But what about this? This is a Brazilian berimbau. These were originally hunting bows, and when the hunt was finished, you'd slap a resonating chamber on it and play it much better than that.
Huh.
And while this particular version was designed exclusively as an instrument, if I take the chamber off it, then it can still launch an arrow surprisingly effectively. And conversely, if I take my regular bow, if I add a resonating chamber, it makes it significantly more musical. And somewhere in the middle of
That's
these
cool.
is a character concept.
I was gonna say
Why
like a
is-
bard. A bard archer would be kind of cool.
This arrow, a trap. History has produced lots of
Oh.
weird arrows, including but not limited to fire, rope, poison, and slashing. And this is a real-life arrow of disarming. But unlike some of the others, this one only works when it's shot by your enemies. Let me explain. One of the greatest weaknesses of archery was ammunition,
Right.
with longer battles often being decided by who runs out of arrows first. But if you're not careful, the arrows that you send downrange can end up being used against you.
Oh.
So some archers got crafty. Attaching a socket to your bow means your arrows don't need a notch cut out to be able to sit on the string, allowing you to make arrows quicker and more cheaply, or even in a pinch, shoot things that aren't arrows at all. And if your enemy's not got one of these, there's no risk of them shooting it back. But this is even trickier. Hidden inside the nock of this arrow is a bit of razor blade, which isn't a problem for me because I can just put it into the socket and shoot it normally.
But if the enemy took it, it would cut their bowstring if they didn't have that. Ooh, that is so smart.
But now, if an enemy archer is trying to conserve ammunition and they pick this up, the results could be catastrophic.
Yup. Rip bowstring, ripperonis. That's
Why
so
did the
sad.
Amazons cut off their breasts?
I'm sorry, what?
According to classical mythology, the Amazons were a culture of female warriors so dedicated to battle that they would remove one of their breasts to make it easier to draw a bow. But was that really
Is that why I suck at archery? Smash.
necessary? It's a common conception that archery is for scrawny twinks and the occasional muscular warrior,
Oh.
and that anyone who doesn't fit that mold might have problems. And if you've ever done archery at a summer camp, you'll know that the classic archer's stance has a tendency for the bowstring to catch on protruding chests, stomachs, elbows, and
Chad, I'm cooked. This is why I stick with axes.
basically anything it can find. But what you might not know is that it's not the only stance. In both
Oh?
modern and historical
Just kidding. We're so back. We're so back.
archery, some schools would teach different stances for different body shapes. For instance, the Ottoman Mamluk school involved a stance that was very square onto the target, turning the shoulders like this to allow for a larger stomach,
Okay, well, not
and
that.
so by a similar principle, standing a little bit offset from the target would allow you to keep the string away from your chest.
Huh.
Or failing that, they could have just worn some chest protection.
Well.
But given that varied techniques exist to accommodate for everything from short necks to protruding elbows, I can't help but wonder whether the Amazons were just really into body mods.
Well, all right then. Sticking to axes, unbelievable. That's going to be the end of the video. Thanks, Rob. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please consider liking and subscribing. If you have any recommendations for future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comments below.